Let's now bring in CTV's Colton Praill joining us from Ottawa with more. Colton, the Prime Minister confirming that the talks have begun. He spoke with the President last night. What else did the Prime Minister say in regards with the DST?
Yeah, a couple interesting tidbits in this, Akshay. First off, yes, that there was those calls. We're learning in that part of those discussions that he just mentioned that Dominic Leblanc and Howard Lutnick were also part of the conversations that extended through Francois-Philippe Champagne and Scott Bessington, of course, the Prime Minister and the President. But what was really unique in Mr. Carney's comments earlier today, he talked about this being part of a larger negotiation, but he said it was expected as part of a bigger deal. He talked about it not making sense to collect these revenues and later have to remit them, almost positioning this as though Canada knew that they were going to end up axing the DST, which is a really unique framing, especially given how the U.S. is portraying this, because we saw the White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt just moments before Mr. Carney spoke talking about how this was Canada caving to the United States, saying President Trump knows how to negotiate. So some interesting perspectives here on what this means. Ultimately, it's got both sides back to the table, and that negotiation is going to be continuing as a result of these conversations. Canada's foregoing $7 billion worth of revenue by pulling this legislation down. That's something that'll eventually happen in the fall. But the framing of this is Canada saying it's expected, the U.S. framing this as a win. It's two very different sides of the same coin.
Yeah, Colton, just stay with us for a few moments. I just want to tell our viewers what are we tracking right now. These are visuals that are just coming in from Ottawa. That's, in fact, live visuals coming to us right now. The Prime Minister there, as you can see on our screens, he is welcoming the FIFA World Cup trophy to Canada at a youth soccer game in Ottawa. This after, of course, speaking about the trade discussions with the United States, the Prime Minister there with the young kids. We know that FIFA is coming to Canada next year in 2026, and right now the Prime Minister there welcoming the FIFA World Cup trophy with the Canadian youth over there. So this is the activity going on in Ottawa. And the backdrop, of course, is the big story we have been tracking about the trade negotiations with the United States and how the Prime Minister said that they have had the discussions with Donald Trump and they are back on track in terms of negotiations. But the question coming back to you, Colton, about the negotiations so far, the Prime Minister also giving us that timeline, you know, saying that it seems as of July 21st, we will have a deal. But who is to say that such sort of a demand or a hard line will not come again from the U.S. president, because of which he just bulldozed over Canada's plans over DST?
Yeah, that's the big question. I mean, this is part of end-stage negotiations where you do get to sticking points, and certainly the DST has been a key sticking point. It was something that Kevin Hassett, the White House economics advisor, brought up in Fox News earlier today. He mentioned that this is something the president brought up to the Prime Minister at the G7 in Kananaskis. We know that the DST has been a sticking point for the Trump administration. It's been something he has brought up repeatedly in interviews on social media. It even extends before Donald Trump. This is something that Joe Biden and his administration were quite concerned about. They even started the process of contesting it under the free trade agreement between Canada and the United States. And so this is a long-time tax that is opposed on both sides of the political aisle in the United States. And when you're in these negotiations, it was expected that it was something that was going to come up. This is part of that process. The bigger question is, where do they go from here? Yeah. Canada seemingly has played this card. Now, they have moved forward on that. They've rescinded it. That leverage that may have existed is gone at this point in time. And so was it withdrawn out of goodwill? And is it going to get us more than just talks restarting? That's ultimately how we will be judging the Prime Minister on this decision and whether or not they played their cards too early in moving forward as if they were going to collect the revenues on these taxes. If it leads to a better deal for Canadians, then certainly you could make the argument that the $1 billion yearly revenue that this tax would have brought in is not as equivalent to the $3.5 billion we do of trade every day with the United States. On the flip side, if it's just to get talks started, you've given up $7 billion in revenue over 5 years, and that's a lot of money that the federal government could have used for things like defense, for example.
Interesting points for sure. CTV's Colton Praill in Ottawa. Colton, thank you for this perspective.